Hey, welcome back to the Bachelorette ReleDate Week 3. I hope you all are enjoying the show so far and enjoying this as well. Um, there was a lot of drama. I don't think that needs to be said, but there was a lot of drama in this most recent episode. So we're going to talk about it. Obviously, there was everything that happened at the rose ceremony with Katie getting super upset, but then she also had two dates, a group date and an individual date that we saw. And we're going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the group date specifically. So hold on to your tights. Let's do it. Let's jump in. So first off, that group date kind of had the idea that the men were supposed to come in and share something really personal about their past relationships or past big events that have happened in their lives. At least that's what I picked up from what it was supposed to be like. Yes, these conversations are something that's important. We know that self-disclosure, especially when you're dating, is important because it leads to things like higher relationship quality. So if that self-disclosure is happening early on or even happening at all during the dating stages, then we know that the relationship quality is higher. There's associations that says it's higher. With that being said, though, was this the best setting to do it in? That's the question that I've been kind of playing with in my mind, at least, was this really the best setting to do it in with everyone else there? Because usually when we have conversations like this, we're able to sit down maybe one-on-one with a potential partner and talk to them face to face about what might be going on. In this case, they were all sat down in a room together and kind of said, like, go around the circle round robin style and share all these different things. I think I say this every week where, yes, I realize it's TV. I realize that they're having to make some decisions based on the fact that it is TV. They're trying to get views for that. But in terms of building a relationship, like, that seems like that would be super intimidating and we could see several of the guys get really uncomfortable with how that happened. There were, again, good conversations, necessary conversations, just not in that way. The one that stood out, like, I know that we heard a lot from Connor. I think I've got a soft spot for Connor. I hope that he does well. He got the rose, obviously, so he's doing great. But he, like, had a good story. He was able to be really open, really vulnerable. We saw that with several of the different guys. And then we rolled around to Thomas. And Thomas seemed like he was not really sharing a whole lot. Like, he was sharing a whole lot, but he also wasn't. He talked a lot about how he got on the show, talked a lot about how his intentions have changed now that he's in the show. But something about it did not feel the same to me as those other conversations that they had with the other guys. I don't know. It was just, yeah, like he was talking about things that led him to this point, but it wasn't necessarily about past relationships or about how his potential romantic relationships could be impacted by his past. So I thought that was interesting to kind of point out. I feel like there maybe isn't a realization there for him that he should be sharing these things, or maybe there's something there that he doesn't want to share. As I talked about earlier, like, the setting did not really invite for great, like, intimate conversation, even though that was sort of the intention. But Katie did give him that opportunity later that night to sit down one-on-one with her and really talk things through. And I do appreciate the fact that Katie called him out. She had asked him a question about, like, oh, you mentioned red flags. Like, what are those red flags that you see in yourself? And he had kind of skirted around the question. We saw him skirt around the question, which is not great. But Katie called him out on that and kind of forced him into answering the question, which was good. I'm glad that he was able to give somewhat of an answer. To me, it still felt like he was skirting around it. But again, that self-disclosure piece is important. And if he's not self-disclosing in the same way that other people are, I think that Katie noticed that and will continue to notice that. It is unfortunate that comparison is there between all of these guys of just, like, who is giving me what information, how intimate does it feel? But this is a TV show. Yes, there is that competition sort of aspect to it. So with that being said, Katie also disclosed some really big stuff. She disclosed the sexual assault that she had experienced several years before. And she was so brave when she was telling that story. She was, really trying to lay her heart out there, make it known that this is not something that she was comfortable disclosing in the past. But as we learned, like, it's a big piece of why she is so sex positive now. And so with that, I want to talk for a couple minutes just about what happens if you have a friend that comes out and tells you about a sexual assault that they may have experienced. So there's a great website, a great organization. Let me look at it real quick. It's called RAIN. And so I'm going to link that at the end of the video so you've got access to it. But they have a lot of great tips on what to do if this happens, or what to do if your friend or someone close to you discloses sexual assault to you. And so it's really, really important in these circumstances not to question whether the story happened or not. So believe the person when they tell you the story. It is very important to believe them, not to ask questions like, what were you wearing? What did you do to worsen the situation? That's not appropriate. That's not okay. Your job is just to be there to listen to them, to check in and make sure they're okay, to point them in the direction of resources should they need it, to provide comfort, to be supportive. It is not to investigate. It is not to try to retaliate against the person that did this to them, but it is just to listen and to be a support person for that person. And I know that these conversations usually come up in times we don't expect them. I think that they usually come up in times that we do not expect them. And so it's important to have an understanding of how you might respond to the situation before the situation were to arise. That is incredibly important. And so, again, no judgment, just listen, just be there to support, and let them know that they can continue to talk to you about it. Let them know that you can check in with them. And I know that that's the hard part, is that after someone discloses, it feels like we check in really often. And then that starts to fade out the longer and longer things go. Just keep in mind that people really still need that support, even if they've told you about it months ago. They still need to check in every once in a while. It's okay to text or call or meet up in person and say, hey, are you doing okay? I think that's all I'm going to say on that. If you all want more information, again, I'm going to link this in at the end of the episode here so that you have access to the RAIN website, because they've got some wonderful, wonderful resources. Yes. I think that that's all I had for you all this week. I am very curious to see what this next rose ceremony brings for us, as well as this next group date. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Bye.